Book of Heaven, Volume 19, August 25th, 1926. The divine will makes of the whole life of our Lord one single act in his interior. I was remembering all the acts of our Lord so as to unite myself with him, and not only this, but to find his most holy will operating in all of his acts, to be able to identify with it and make one single act with mine. So, I would have wanted to be conceived with Jesus, be born with Jesus, moan, cry, suffer, pray, shed my blood together with his, and die together with Jesus. Now, while I was thinking of this, he moved in my interior, making his presence felt in my heart, and raising his arm in the act of clasping me to himself, told me,
"My daughter, my whole life was one single act coming from that single act of the Eternal One, which has no succession of acts. And if in my humanity externally one could see the gradual succession of my acts, that is, being conceived, being born, growing, operating, walking, suffering, dying, in the interior of my humanity, my divinity, the eternal Word united to my soul, formed one single act of my whole life. Therefore, the succession of the external acts that could be seen in the seen, it was the outpouring of the single act which, overflowing outside, formed the succession of my external life. But in my interior, as I was conceived, at the same time I was also born. I cried, I moaned, I walked, I operated, I spoke, I preached the gospel, I instituted the sacraments, I suffered and was crucified. Therefore, all that could be seen on the outside of my humanity, little by little, step by step, inside of it was one single act, long and continuous, and which still continues. So as I was conceived, coming from the single act of the Eternal One, I remained always as being conceived, always as being born, always moaning and crying. In sum, everything I did remained in act, and as continuous act, because everything that comes from God and remains in God undergoes no mutations, nor increase, nor diminution. Once the act is done, it remains with the fullness of life that never ends and can give life to all as much as they want of it. So my will maintained and does maintain everything in act, my whole life, just as it maintains the life of the sun in act, without allowing it to decrease or increase in its light, in its heat, and in its effects, just as it preserves the expanse of the heavens with all the stars, without ever shrinking or dispersing even one star. And so with many other things created by me, in the same way my supreme will maintains the life of all the acts of my humanity, without dispersing even one breath. Now, wherever it reigns, this will of mine does not know how to do separated acts. Its nature is one single act, multiple in its effects, but always one in its act. Therefore it calls the soul who lets herself be dominated by it to union with its single act, that she may find all the goods, all the effects that only the single act of a God can possess. Therefore, may your attention be to remain united to that single act of the Eternal One, if you want to find the whole creation and the whole redemption in act. And in that single act you will find the length of my pains, of my steps, my continuous crucifixion. You will find everything. My will disperses nothing, and in it you will be identified with my acts and will take the fruit of my whole life. If it were not so, there would not be a great difference between my operating and that of my saints. On the other hand, since my operating is one single act, between mine and theirs, there is the difference that passes between the sun and a tiny little flame, between the great sea and a drop of water, between the vastness of the heavens and a little hole. Only the power of my one act has the power to give itself to all and to embrace everything. And while it gives itself, it never loses anything.
Thank you for being a part of our community here at Divine Will app. If you enjoy listening to Jesus's lessons on how to live in the divine will, please give this video a thumbs up. Your likes help us reach more souls yearning to live in the kingdom of the divine will. We'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections, so drop a comment below. Your insights not only enrich our community, but also inspire others on their spiritual journey. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. By joining us, you're helping to spread the news of the kingdom of the divine will, so that together we can bring His kingdom to reign on earth as it is in heaven. In the divine will, always.